Hello and welcome to the Gooner Talk, back again with you guys for another show, for another episode of our Raw Reactions / Expert Members preview show where we look ahead to the next Arsenal game. I'm going to be joined by a couple, as I say, of our members to talk about the game, talk about rotation, lineups, predictions, and maybe if VAR can get his head screwed on a little bit. I'm joined today by Kian. How you doing, mate? Are you well?
Not bad, man. You? How are you getting on?
Yes, not too shabby, mate. Not too shabby at all. And I'm also joined by Raheel. How you doing, mate? Are you well?
I'm good, Tom. How are you guys doing? And thanks for having me again.
No problem at all. Absolute pleasure as always. And yeah, all good. All good, mate. I mean, I got my, I don't know if you have Costa where you guys are, but fruit cooler in hand. So buzzing with that. Cooling me down on what was actually quite a warm day for the UK in the context of what we've experienced recently. We went for a walk with the other half and it was nice. T-shirt weather almost. So very much appreciative of the change in weather. Hopefully, signalling a change in Arsenal's Premier League form would be nice. We're going into the game on Sunday after, obviously, we came through that ridiculously tense end to the game against Benfica, in which we did come through. My first question, Raheel, is going to be basically, do you feel kind of mentality-wise that boost and that win against Benfica is going to help us in this game on Sunday?
Yeah, I think so. I hope so. I mean, it should, because I mean, we did a complete Arsenal, right, making things extremely difficult. Yeah, so like the players fought back, and honestly, when Dani Ceballos did what Dani Ceballos did, and I saw Willian coming on, I was too angry. I just left my laptop. I said, let me go play a little bit of Call of Duty, remove my anger there. And I wasn't connecting. And then I said, let me just check the score. And I said 2-2. I'm like, should I really waste my time and get that hope again? But I went back, I watched the game, and, there was a bit of fight, and which was great to see. And the fact that Leicester lost and they might be a little bit downbeat, and they don't have Maddison, who is the main player this season, I think. So we definitely should take a lot of confidence from that. We have, I think, a favorable tie in Olympiacos, even though last year they knocked us out. But it's the perfect revenge game for Arsenal, and particularly Aubameyang. So yeah, definitely the players should take a lot of confidence from this. And yeah, we go tomorrow, and hopefully we can get a win.
Fingers crossed that is the case. We're going to go into a little bit regarding kind of the team news and stuff before we show our lineups. But Kian, I mean, I'm going to ask you, how were you feeling after that Benfica match? Were you? It's easy to say you're obviously buzzing to go through, but was it a case of a weight off our shoulders? Was it a case of we got a little bit lucky, or were you very obviously pleased with the result?
Obviously pleased with the result. I was actually in work for the game, so I live streamed and I was in the cafeteria and I started screaming, and I think some customers left because they got scared.
Wow.
But the thing is as well, I just think with Benfica, we were going into the game expecting to win, but with our current form, we were always expecting like Benfica to come straight at us. But when Oba scored the first goal, we all expected, okay, let's kick on from here. He's going to keep scoring goals because he's now after getting the first one. The monkey's off the back, as they say. So then what I do from there is when the other two lads scored with Ceballos' mistakes, it was a bit here and there. What do we do? And I'm going to hold my hands up and say it, guys. Bellerin coming off was a very, very good decision. He wasn't doing much in the game. Saka did the whole right side on his own anyway. So putting him in there and having Lacazette put up top really made the big difference in the game. And yes, Willian played a brilliant game. Doesn't mean that I think he should have been on the pitch at all. It didn't really justify what he did. So for me, I definitely think Arteta's changes were very good. And let's move on to Olympiacos and show Socrates what he's missing.
Yeah, I think Socrates is obviously might be able to give them a little bit of insight. Basically going, guys, they're not that good. It's what he's going to
Yeah.
say from his time at Arsenal. And I'm sure they'll go into that game, arguably, maybe with even more confidence than they did last year when they dumped us out of the competition. Anyway, though, looking ahead to Leicester, they're a team, Rahil, that are in fine form in the league. Obviously, they were knocked out of the Europa League themselves by Slavia Prague, as predicted, I will say, very smugly, that they were going to get knocked out by Slavia Prague, and they did. But they did rotate. They played a few players. They weren't necessarily going to play this weekend, but it's a huge game for them as they push for Champions League, which I expect them to qualify for with how good they've been. How much are you fearful of this Leicester side tomorrow?
I am a bit fearful, of course, and our record at their ground isn't great. I think the last time we won was 2015 when Sanchez scored a hat-trick. That was a 5-2 game. That's a long time now. It's been 5 years. So I'm not as fearful as I am against other teams. I don't know. Leicester, I think we can still get at them. Like I said, Madison is not there, and I saw a lot of people in the chat saying that, players miraculously recover when they're playing Arsenal. So that is a possibility that he might be on. But yeah, they have had a really good season. But from what I've seen in the past from Brendan Rodgers' side, there's a point in the season when they start capitulating. And I'm hoping that Europa League game was the beginning, because even last season they were almost nailed on to get a top four spot, and then they messed it up. So they do at a point in the season under Brendan Rodgers, they do capitulate and they start losing games they shouldn't. So I'm hoping that we can get something out of it. But of course, they are in the position they are because they've been so consistent. So it will be a tough game. But we've beaten them already away on the Carabao Cup. So we can get some confidence out of that. And even the game we lost against them at the home leg, I think we just got really unlucky and a little bit of shambolic defending. And of course, Jamie Vardy has always got his goal. So, yeah, and we should have had a goal. I don't know if you guys remember the Lacazette one. That should have been a goal. It should have stood. So
don't make too many excuses for Arsenal this season, Rahil. People will jump on you. So
yeah, I mean, we're 11th because of VAR, right? So, no, but I'm just joking. But no, we can get a lot of. We shouldn't go into the game scared. I don't think they're a good team, but they're not Man City level, So we can definitely get something out of it tomorrow. I'm a little bit confident. I won't lie. Yeah.
I'm loving the confidence. We say that. We were confident before Man City, I remember. We might get something out of this game.
I predicted a loss. I wasn't that confident.
Yeah, you did.
So
but in the chat box, there was so much positivity. And I can see how this is going to happen, how this is going to go. Anyway, interestingly, of course, Leicester are without quite a few of their players. I'm just logging onto the Leicester website, and it says that they'll be without James Maddison, Jose Perez, Wesley Fofana, Dennis Pratt, Wes Morgan, and James Justin, all unavailable. And you have to say at least Maddison, Pratt, arguably Perez, definitely Justin are first team options for them. Maddison, definitely. Kian, how big of a blow is that for them, and how much do you think that will play into the game, especially Maddison's absence?
Hugely. I think Madison's definitely a huge part of Leicester's way going forward. And if the goals don't come from Vardy, it does seem to come from Maddison, and especially with his free kicks as well. They're always a threat. To be honest with you, I don't know who else could take a free kick for Leicester. But when it comes
Tielemans,
to Maddison,
I imagine.
Is it Tielemans as well?
I think he might be. Yeah.
He's a very good player, but when it comes to free kicks, Maddison's just different class. I think Justin is a big loss for them, but it wouldn't be huge. I think Ricardo coming back, he's another fantastic player. I'm not sure about Castagna as well, if he's fit.
I think he is.
Yeah, he had a bit of a knock beforehand as well, but their loss on Thursday, that will play into their heads on what they'll do going forward and on Sunday as well. And the thing is with Leicester, it's always a tough one for me because I lived there for 3 years. And what I noticed is if they have a bad game, they have a few bad games. And it's something to do as well. Like, I don't know if it's the mentality of the club or what, but I just feel like they need to start pushing on. Like if they do have a loss, take it and move on, because for the last few years, if they lose, they go on a bad run, and I don't know. I think they could drop out of top 4 if they're not careful.
They are having an exceptional season. Just looking at the Premier League table now, they're sitting in 3rd place on 49 points. West Ham are also having a very good season, a 4th on 45 points, but could be overtaken by Chelsea should they win their game in hand. Leicester are 9 points above Liverpool right now and are on the same amount of games played as them. Of course, they still have that extra game in midweek, which they'll play as well. And they're joint with Manchester United, who are in 2nd currently. So it is a really, really good season for them. But as you have both pointed out, they do have a little bit of a weird mental block towards the end of seasons where they do kind of drop a few points and can struggle to overcome that. And maybe the Europa League knockout was a sign of that. I still do believe Slavia Prague to be a very decent side to have knocked them out. And we've seen some very decent players like Kufau and Souček, who are doing so well at West Ham this season, come from there. So when you think about now, I suppose, Rahil, about Arsenal are going to have a week off after this game, which is important because we haven't had that luxury in quite a while. Sam Trester in the chat says, Tom, we have a week's break following this game. Without going into specifics about lineups, because we'll come on to that in a second, but are you expecting rotation heavily from this match?
I wouldn't say heavily, but definitely a little bit of rotation. I think the players did give it all on that pitch against Benfica, and most of them started against City as well. So I am expecting a little bit of rotation. Players like Pepe, Martinelli didn't even come on. So, yeah, so definitely there will be a little bit of rotation, which there should be. I don't think we played on Thursday in Greece, and then they'll probably be flying out. They flew out yesterday or today, so there's hardly any recovery time for the next game. So rotation will be key. It'll be interesting which players come on. Willian.
Yeah. Yes, he is one. He did get an assist, to be fair to the guy, against Benfica.
Yeah.
Regarding recovery time, as far as I'm aware, they actually stayed in Greece for Friday and completed training in Greece, which I think is actually quite a good thing in a way, because with the whole new rule situation about self-isolation coming back from Europe, they would have been able to be a little bit freer. They wouldn't have had that extra pressure to making sure they're staying at home, and they would have been able to be out and about a little bit. If you've seen any of their Instagram stories recently, they were able to kind of be a little bit freer, I suppose. So that might have been mentally a good plan and a good kind of move from Arteta to then come back today or yesterday evening, it probably was. And then usually the day before the game, there's only a smaller session before they obviously travel and then get ready for kickoff. I suppose the best way now is to go into having a look at our lineups. Kian, starting with yours. The biggest one for yourself is obviously no Bellerin in the lineup, which is
hold your breath. Hold your breath.
Talk me through your selection, mate.
Well, Leno, let's be honest, no keeper should have a rest, really. And the thing is, as well, he does deserve to stay in the squad. He's playing very well, and he's a fantastic shot stopper. So let's go. I took David Luiz out because I don't know what it was on Thursday. I just felt like there was no connection really between Gabriel and David Luiz, and I did like the way Holding was playing with Gabriel before Gabriel went off over COVID. So I kind of want to see them back in together. Tierney is back, and what else can you say about Tierney? Let's just leave him there. Cedric, right? This is the big one. Bellerin just doesn't deserve it at the moment, and I am the first to say it. Cedric really does push forward. He's in seriously good form. I'm shocked that he didn't play in Benfica's game either. But that does not mean I do think Arteta will still play Bellerin. The Partey Xhaka combination, Ceballos again just does not deserve to play after Benfica. But again, if it's against Leicester, well, it is against Leicester, but if in the next few games, if we get a small enough team that we should beat, I would play Ceballos and try to get his form back. And then we get to the forward line. I feel like two players specifically need rest. They've played a lot of games and they do look tired, and that is Smith Rowe and Saka. So I've done Odegaard, Pepe, Martinelli, and Oba. And I feel like Martinelli is one player that I don't know what what's going on behind closed doors or what's happening, but I think Martinelli should start getting into the squad and getting some minutes. He was our best player last year. Best young player last year. Before Saka came onto the scene, and I just think he deserves more minutes and to prove himself again, because he wants to work for the jersey, and his mentality is definitely there. I think he's one of the big prospects that we really need to push forward.
I like a lot of what you've said and picked with your team. I think I may have made a couple of changes from mine. Before we get to that, though, let's have a look at Rahil's team. Talk me through your choices, because you haven't given Smith Rowe a rest, and you've gone with Laka and Albert as well, interestingly, and also Marie with Louise in the back line. Yeah,
so let me go again, start from the back. Cedric over Bellerin all day for me. He hasn't really been performing well, and I feel a bit bad for Cedric, because he came in and did a decent job at left back. So since Tierney has been back, then he hasn't got any opportunity. And the fact that Bellerin played on Thursday, I think Cedric should come in. I have gone for Luis and Marie. The reason I haven't gone for Gabriel is I think on Thursday he had his worst game for me for Arsenal. I think he looked quite shaky at the back. And if there was a better team, then better than Benfica, then I think we would have been punished. So and Gabriel hasn't looked the same since he came back from his COVID. So I would give him a break. And Luis and Holding had a concussion, so I'm not sure how ready he is for the game. So I would go with Luis and Marie. Tierney, of course, no words for him. He's our leader on the pitch. Partey, Xhaka, pretty straightforward. I would not bring Elneny in for this game for obvious reasons. And I think Emil Smith Rowe, I don't like him. I don't know why Arteta puts him on the left, but he was doing so well at the number 10 position, and I would leave him there. I would give him a little more game there. I think he should rotate with Odegaard. We have so many wingers, and yet for some reason Arteta wants to shoehorn Emil Smith Rowe and Odegaard in the same team. I personally don't like that. It kind of kills our creativity on the flanks, because if Aubameyang playing or Pepe is playing on the left, or even Saka, we look much more dangerous rather than Emil Smith Rowe. So that's why, and the fact that Odegaard has played, I think, 4 games in a row now, so I think he needs a little bit of a break. And this was really, really difficult, but to leave Saka out, I think that kid needs a break. He's been carrying us this season at 19 years of age. And I know he's really, really essential to our team, but he's only 19 and he's played almost every minute of every game this season. So he needs a timeout, I think. Even maybe bring him on in the second half if things aren't going too well, or even if they are going too well, just to give him some minutes. But I'll bring back Pepe. I do prefer Pepe on the left side, but then who do we play on the right? I don't think Aubameyang works really well on the right side, or Martinelli. So that's why I've taken Pepe on the right and Aubameyang on the left. We have to keep our captain in. He scored 2 goals, and he looked really fresh. And he scored a hat trick against Leeds. He had a couple of bad games. So we need to keep him in, because without Aubameyang, we lose our goal threat. I mean, who's going to score the goals? We don't have a lot of other players scoring goals, and that's why I've brought in Lacazette, because before he was Arteta chose to bench him, he was scoring goals and he was a goal threat. So I think this lineup was a little bit of rotation, a little bit of giving players a rest and getting other players a chance. I haven't put Martinelli on. The only reason I haven't put him on is because he hasn't played a lot of games. I would like to give him more minutes, and maybe he can come on the second half. And then if he plays well, and give him minutes and bring him off the bench and then start him, just to throw him in. He's hardly played in the last few weeks, so it's going to be quite difficult for him to come on and hit the ground running.
I have a question for you. You've put Pepe on the right, which obviously he has struggled with a lot, and he did quite well on the left. So I'm curious as to kind of the explanation behind Pepe a bit more playing there.
Like I said, I don't know who else to put on the right. That's basically it. Because who plays on the right?
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if he starts on.
Neither would I, to be honest.
I won't, because Arteta spoke quite highly of him in the press conference, and we know how much he loves Willian. So that's the only reason I've put Pepe on the right. Otherwise, if Saka was fit, I would probably definitely play him. I mean, he is fit, but if he wasn't the fear of burnout, I would definitely play Saka there. But just the fact that I don't see any other player, and I don't know if you remember, towards the end of last season, that front three won us the FA Cup. We played Aubameyang on the left, Lacazette in the center, and Pepe, and they were working, so they can work. It's just that we need to get them back firing again. And Pepe, needs to step up on that right-hand side. But I do agree with you, he's better on the left. It's just that we don't have many options on the right.
Fair enough. I haven't actually looked at my lineup since this morning, so this could be funny. So I have gone for, apparently, Leno at the back, Cedric, Luiz, Gabriel, kept that partnership together. I do agree with what Kian was saying earlier about those two, but I think they're our best partnership, and I kind of want to build up a kind of a rapport, I suppose, between the two more consistently. Tierney's undroppable, simple as that. I think the partnership of Partey and Xhaka right now is fine to keep going with. Ceballos and Elneny don't tempt me, especially after Ceballos' display on Thursday. I'm giving Emile Smith-Rowe a bit of a rest. Again, I just feel a little bit like I'm sensing burnout in his displays recently. I'm not sure what it is. I like him a lot. It's not a case of taking him out for dropping him. It's purely because I don't feel like he's got the same kind of, not necessarily application, but the same engine, the same kind of longevity as Saka does to play in the lineup without seeing as much burnout. Hence why I've dropped him necessarily for this game, but just brought Ødegaard in, who's been playing quite well. I have found a place for Martinelli in the team to start. I think this is a good game for him to play in, and actually suits kind of Martinelli playing against some of the bigger teams because we're not in possession as much. You can press that back line, give us the energy to press the opposition's defence and try and win the ball back, and then when he gets it, he can drive forwards. I've given Aubameyang a bit of a rest as well, actually. It wouldn't surprise me to see Aubameyang start. Lacazette, it was basically 50-50 between the two of them. Lacazette's barely played at all, and he wasn't dropped, I don't think, for poor form. He had a relatively absent game against Aston Villa and then didn't start and hasn't started, I don't believe, since that game, but has looked sprightly when he's come on off the bench. And Aubameyang has played a lot of football, and you could argue maybe it's an opportunity to give him maybe a rest. But if Aubameyang starts there, I'm not going to complain whatsoever. Pepe on the left is where I think he's best, kind of thing. I get what you were saying, Raheel, about kind of working out where to play and who to play on that right wing, and you picked, of course, Laka and Aubameyang together, which works in that combination of striker and left wing. So I understand that. I just think that I don't know what it is. I just think that Pepe on the left is maybe somewhere that he has succeeded, and right on the right, especially against City, he was very, very quiet and very kind of back to the old Pepe that we weren't as in tune with. So that's what I've gone for. Let's have a look at what you guys are saying in the chat box. Let me scroll up and see some of your choices, because I know there were some people that were throwing them in, if I can find them. I know that Wilson did one. There it is. My lineup would be Leno, Cedric, Marie, Holding, Tierney, Partey, Elneny, Martinelli, Ødegaard, Pepe, and Lacazette. That is a lot of attacking players, with then Elneny and Partey as kind of the pivot. Interestingly, Daniel Robert, who is not the biggest Bellerin fan, says Cedric in front of Leno, obviously, with Chambers and Gabriel as a back two, which is very interesting, seeing Chambers come back in. He did come on as a sub against Benfica. Tierney, Xhaka, he does play Ceballos. I don't know if that's to protect Partey's kind of fitness right now, rather than purely playing over the top of him. Pepe, Emile Smith-Rowe, Martinelli, and Lacazette as the pick there. So very interesting choices. DJ is not a fan of Xhaka, who says hashtag Xhaka on TV off. Noah Wheeler says, got to play Aubameyang as much as I think Laka plays better with Martinelli. Yannick Max says that Lacazette's only in my 11 because of the boots that he was wearing. I mean, he is a legend. He got trust the process boots. I don't know how much more I can love the guy after that, to be fair to him. Martinelli can't play on the right, or can he, says Dominic. Yes, I believe he can. I think he's versatile enough that he could play in any of those positions. And it's going to be a really weird game because both teams are going to have players that aren't necessarily out-and-out starters playing in every fixture. But Kian, are you confident going into this one?
Well, to be honest, before the pod, I did not know about Maddison, so I am a little bit more confident now. But then again, Leicester are a very good side. It's a tough one to call. It depends on what Arsenal team comes out, because as we all know, we could have a team out there now that just doesn't care, that just doesn't want to make any creativity or does some stupid mistakes. We're our own worst enemy. So it's a tough one. It really is. And being away as well, that's the only thing that's kind of helping me, because we do play better away. So I'd say 2-1 to us.
Okay, 2-1. Omar thinks we are going to go down to a 2-1 defeat in this one. Do start getting your prediction into the chat box, people. Rahil, how are you feeling about this one? And then finish it off with a prediction.
Like I mentioned in the beginning, I am confident. You can't be completely confident with Arsenal, of course, because like Kian said, you don't know what Arsenal will turn up. But I think after that Benfica win, we'll have a little bit of a spring in our step, I hope. And I think we should be able to get a result there. So I'm going to go with also a 2-1 win to Arsenal. I wasn't that confident before, but I don't know why. Something just tells me we might just sneak it through. And hopefully Maddison is not in the game, because I think that changes a lot if he's playing tomorrow. So he's not there. And so 2-1 to Arsenal, and of course 1 for them, because Vardy will score as he always does. So
yes, he does.
Yeah.
Yes, he does. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat box. Wilson says 2-2. Yannick says a 3-1 loss. Very Yannick. Matt G says 2-1 to the Arsenal. Pablo says 2-1 Arsenal. Omar says 2-1 Leicester. Austin says 2-1 to the Arsenal. Alex says 1-0 Leicester. DJ reckons that Lacazette is going to score. Wilson has already said 2-2, as we said already. Noah, 3-0 Arsenal. We're going to be on top on this one. Absolute blind confidence. Fair play to you, mate. Ansgar says 3-0 Lacazette, Pepe and Louise to get the goals. Agalos, who is our resident Olympiacos fan in the chat, says 2-1 Leicester, unsurprisingly. Dominic Harris says 2-2. Daniel Robert says 6-5 to Arsenal, with Vardy getting 5 goals because he's made my FPL captain this week. Sahil says 2-1 and 2-1 Vardy, as in I think Vardy's going to get both of those goals. And as Noah points out, he does love a goal against Arsenal. That does round off our preview show for tomorrow's game against Leicester. It is a 12 o'clock kickoff, which means I won't be around with you for the watching, unfortunately, because it's an early kickoff, but I will be here at 2 o'clock. Dead on the dot to talk about the game straight afterwards for the Raw Reaction show. Thank you to my 2 fantastic guests. Kian, always a pleasure, mate.
Thank you very much. Just want to say, actually, a big shout out to the lads back in Leicester who are watching this pod. Got on just to watch the Leicester game. So thanks for watching, lads. And thanks for having me back on, Tom. Good to...
No problem at all, mate. No problem at all. I mean, I'm not going to wish your mates luck for obvious reasons.
Definitely not.
No problem at all, fella. And Rahil, always a pleasure from the football. Is it the Football Talk? Have you changed the name?
Yeah, I changed the name because it sounded like the old channel name sounded like a football team, so I had to do a little bit of that.
Trying to start a new project.
Basically.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers, Tom. Thanks for having me, and let's hope we get a win tomorrow. Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed, 100%. If you want to check out the guys on Twitter, you can find Kian at Riordan. Kian, I always pronounce that wrong. I mean, how close was I? Is that all right?
You got very close. Riordan.
Riordan.
That's the one.
Kieran Reardon. Yes, yes, there we go. My Irish accent is dreadful. It's really bad. As with any accent, I try, to be fair. I tried to do Australian the other day and it came out very American. And of course, Rahel, you can find at Rahel Durrani, who obviously is a fantastic follow on Twitter as well. You should go give him one. So if you have enjoyed the show, of course, please drop a like. We are doing now, all of our shows are also on audio platforms, Spotify, iTunes, SoundCloud. We really appreciate if you go over into iTunes and give us a review as well. It does help other people find the show. So that'd be much appreciated. But if you want to continue watching us in the flesh, even with our faces for radio, other than Kian, because he's now an actor, obviously. But you can find us, of course, all over the YouTube sphere and on Twitter at the Goon Talk TV and at Tom Cantor Media. We'll see you again very, very soon, straight after the game, 2 p.m. tomorrow. Best of luck to the Gunners, obviously, and fingers crossed we can come out with something. But as always, up the Arsenal and cheerio.